This has been a tough week for me regarding my weight loss journey. I had a couple of snags along the way. Hey everyone, this is John from In John's Universe. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right on your weight loss journey and then boom, you get sick? Well, that's what happened to me. I guess mentioned it last week. I thought I had, problem with allergies, and it turned out to be a sinus infection. However, I still lost weight this week, not as much as I would have liked. Let me see. Today is June 6th, and I weighed in this morning at 209.6. So that's zero point 0.7 pounds lost since last week. So my total weight loss since February 20th has been 25.5 pounds. But most importantly, it's the downward pressure. And I've mentioned it several times. You take the total number of pounds that you lost, multiply it by 4, and that's the downward pressure. So in my instance, it's 102 pounds of downward pressure off my joints, off my hips, my legs, feet, and everything else that weight goes down onto. So I feel better. Overall, I feel better. And I've lost inches, and that's what counts. And I finally found my smaller pants in the closet. So I've gone down almost 4 sizes already, which is great. I feel fantastic, other than being sick. All right, so I'm not going to belabor the point about my weight loss this week. I'm just going to talk to you about, and I actually got on ChatGPT and I typed in what happens to weight loss if you're on semaglutide, an antibiotic, and prednisone when you get a sinus infection. And it's amazing the information that it spit out. Today, I'm going to be sharing to you what happened to me when I got a sinus infection. I started feeling bad last Thursday. So being a typical man, I just waited and waited and waited until Monday, and I didn't feel much better. I just felt very lethargic and just like a big sloth, just wanting to lay around. I didn't have a fever or anything like that, but I had a headache and I just felt all around lousy. And I said, all right, I got to call the doctor. So I called the doctor's office and they said, well, the earliest we can get you in would be on Friday. So they said, why don't you go to urgent care? So fortunately, I have a great urgent care right next to where I live. And I went there and the nurse practitioner put me on an antibiotic, which has helped so far. So I've been on semaglutide a while ago, and that's how I started on my diet. And it's helped me lose weight steadily, even as I'm in my late 70s. But again, that's when a sinus infection hit and everything changed. And I mentioned that she put me on an antibiotic, and I had a short course of prednisone that I was tapering off on. So I was still on the tapering off zone as far as that prednisone. So all 3 of them, semaglutide, the antibiotic, and prednisone, all hit my body at the same time. And that's when I noticed some weird stuff going on with my weight. All right, let me break down what each one of those medications do. All right, semaglutide, it suppresses appetite. It helps regulate blood sugar. It slows digestion. It's great for weight loss, but then you throw in the other 2, being the antibiotic and the prednisone, and this is what could happen. Antibiotics can disrupt your gut bacteria. It may upset your stomach or reduce your appetite. It could temporarily mess with how nutrients are absorbed. And as far as I'm concerned, the combination of the added 2 with semaglutide caused me to get constipation. It caused me to get diarrhea. It just screwed up everything. So my cycle wasn't regular. I was retaining water. So I had to take a fluid pill in order to get that water out. That's what my cardiologist suggested, that I keep those on hand. So that was working against me. However, the antibiotic is starting to work, and that's the most important thing, even though I have to put up with it regarding my weight loss. Now, prednisone, that's a steroid. That's the big one. It increases appetite, causes fluid retention and bloating, and it could cause a rise in blood sugar, which may counteract the semaglutide's benefits. And I mentioned that in last week's video. So even if you stick with your plan, these medications can cause the scale to stall, go up, or just bounce all over the place. And that's what happened to me this week. Yesterday, when I got on the scale, I gained 1.5 pounds. Today, when I got on the scale, I lost 1.5 pounds. And that's been the same scenario throughout the week. I've gained, I've lost. There was no consistency. But in order to report consistency as far as my weight loss, that's the weight that I took this morning, and that's what I'm going to be using. So right now, I'm officially at 209.6. This is what happened to me during the week. My appetite was all over the place. Some days I had no interest in food, and other days I was hungry at weird hours. I felt bloated. I felt heavy, even though I hadn't eaten much. The scale went up, as I mentioned, but I knew it wasn't fat, and it was fluid. And then it went down. And as I'm tapering off of prednisone, boom, the scale started dropping again almost overnight. So I'm curious to see how it's going to affect me over the next week. The only thing I'll be taking is semaglutide, which I gave myself an injection last night, and I'm still taking the antibiotic twice a day. So what to remember, if this happens to you, here's what I've learned. Don't panic if the number goes up. Trust the process. The fat loss is still happening. Drink lots of water, rest, and be kind to yourself when you're sick. And once the meds are out of your system, things usually bounce back fast. Weight loss isn't a straight line, and life happens. You get sick, you get depressed, you have an emergency, so you get stressed and so forth and so on. So sticking with your routine, and you got to give your body time to heal. Now, I want to revert back to another YouTuber. His name is Dave, and I'll put it in the description below. Dave is living-working outside-box. Now, evidently, Dave had an accident a couple of years ago. He fell off a roof. I didn't really get into all the details, but he had significant problems because of it. He broke several bones. I believe he broke his vertebrae, his ankles, and all kinds of stuff happened to poor old Dave. But, Dave ballooned up to, I guess it was 250 pounds or whatever it was. But since that time, he has rehabbed himself. He has taken his rehab into his own hands. And he details exactly what he's done. And he details his diet. And Dave has lost over 55 pounds since, I guess it was October. So if you want to subscribe to Dave's channel and listen to his chronicle, because he posts every day, it's very interesting. And I've gained a lot of information from Dave. And we've become internet buddies. So we share some information back and forth and encouragement. So that's what I want to talk about as far as Dave is concerned. When you're sick, your body goes into a self-preservation mode. The body says, oh, well, I'm sick. I'm going to preserve what I have. So, it shifts its priorities to not you losing weight, but it shifts its priorities to fighting the illness and conserving energy. And here's what happens. And I'm not going to get into the technical terms. I'm not a physician or anything like that. So take my advice with a grain of salt. This is just my advice, and that's my disclaimer. Just from information that I've read and from what I've heard and from what I've talked to with other people and from my physician and other people that are in the professional capacity, your body diverts energy and resources like nutrients, fluids, and glucose to fuel your immune system. This can mean you reduce your energy for digestion, movement, and metabolism. Your body helps fight a fever, which helps kill pathogens, but uses a lot of energy. So again, if you have a fever, that's what it's going to do. It's going to kill the pathogens, but the body is going to try to reduce it, and of course of medication. And that's another thing I'm doing. I'm taking some over-the-counter medication, and along with my other medications that are prescription to help drain the sinuses. It's not going to clear up the bacteria or the infection, but it's going to clear up, the cough, and it's going to help subside some of the symptoms that I have. Another thing that the body is going to do is going to reduce inflammation naturally. It's going to help fight the infection, but it can cause fatigue and swelling. That I know very well. I get home and sometimes I'm just whipped. My normal day, I just get home and usually I have enough energy to do whatever I got to do the rest of the day. Now, I get home and I'll sit on my recliner or take a short nap for a while. But again, it's the process of healing. So your body will slow your metabolism down. In some cases, even with severe or prolonged illness, your metabolism may slow down to conserve energy for healing. This can affect appetite. Most people lose it when they're sick. It could affect fat burning and weight loss, which it did for me. And it could muscle breakdown to supply protein for immune cells if needed. Now, again, I've continued to eat a lot of protein. Breakfast this morning, I had a decent breakfast, and I think I've consumed already, just out of breakfast, maybe about 700 calories because I keep track of it. However, it's been 53 grams of protein. So that's more than half of what I need for the entire day. Now, again, your body goes, if you're sick, it could go into hormonal changes. Your body may increase cortisol, the stress hormone, and other signals for helping reduce inflammation. It temporarily adjusts blood sugar levels. It can mobilize stored energy if you're not eating enough. And that's important. I know sometimes you don't feel like eating, but you've got to eat. You've got to fuel your body. You've got to maintain the energy level so your body doesn't attack, the muscles and things like that. And, you don't want to lose muscle mass. And that's important. So I guess before I leave you for today, if you're sick and you just feel down and out, rest and do whatever your recovery requires you to do. The fatigue and need for sleep you feel aren't just symptoms. They're signals from your body saying, slow down, let me heal. If you ever dealt with a setback like this on your weight loss journey, let me know in the comments. If you're a fellow boomer trying to lose weight, get healthy, and figure things out one day at a time, hit the subscribe button. Hit the little bell, and that'll notify you when I put up a new video. And like this video. And if you have, and I mentioned a few seconds ago, if you have any comments, good, bad, or indifferent, please leave the comments. I try to get back to all the comments, and I think I'm doing a good job, and sometimes it's tough to get back to everybody, but I'm doing the best I can. Right now, I have 440 subscribers, and I do appreciate everybody that has subscribed to my channel. It's made a big difference. It gives me fuel for going forward. My goal naturally is, the next goal is 500 subscribers. However, ultimately I want to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. That's my ultimate goal. I want to get monetized. I think that's important. I want to be able to build a little bit more of a financial future for myself in case the economy goes further south. It's not looking so good right now. So you got to do everything you can to help yourself along the way. And some of the other videos that I put out is not related to my weight loss. It's related to how to start YouTube, tips to, put on YouTube, be authentic, be yourself, have fun with it, laugh with yourself. Don't laugh at other people's shortcomings. Just laugh at yourself. Do the best you can. So that's it. That's all I have to say for today. So until the next time, take care of your health. And remember, we're all in this together. Thanks again. Bye.